Right now at 5:30, a worker at a Vernon County jail accused of sexually assaulting an inmate. And billionaire Elon Musk plans to personally deliver million-dollar checks to some Wisconsin voters.
Watching WKBT La Crosse, this is News 8 Now at 6.
Good evening, everyone, and thanks for joining us for an early edition of News 8 Now at 6. I'm Ken Kozarowski. A former kitchen worker is accused of sexually assaulting a Vernon County jail inmate. The sheriff's office arrested 32-year-old Amanda Bjornstad yesterday. She's accused of having sexual contact with an inmate while working for the detention center's food service vendor. Bjornstad faces potential charges of second-degree sexual assault and criminal threats. Her signature bond set at $10,000. She's held for a separate conviction in Richland County. A suspect in a Northside La Crosse shooting bound over for trial. The court today entering a not guilty plea for 19-year-old Jason Moran, who stood mute. According to the criminal complaint, Moran shot a victim in the arm during a planned fight March 9th on Logan Street. Moran's bond has been lowered a second time, now to $50,000 cash. Two other teens face charges. I-94 is back open after a fire caused an early morning shutdown. A fire involving a semi broke out around 5 this morning. It closed both directions of the stretch between US 12 and County Road O in Jackson County. All lanes have since reopened to traffic. La Crosse firefighters quickly contained a house fire yesterday afternoon. Crews responding to a structure fire on the 900 block of Adams Street around 2:30 in the afternoon. Officials say the lone resident escaped and was taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. No word yet on the cause of the fire. The Red Cross, meanwhile, is assisting the displaced family. Billionaire Elon Musk says he plans to personally deliver million-dollar checks to some Wisconsin voters. Musk's Political Action Committee have already spent over $20 million supporting the conservative candidate for Wisconsin Supreme Court, Brad Schimmel. Musk initially wrote on X he will host a talk Sunday for people who have voted in that race. He then deleted that and wrote people who have signed his petition to oppose activist judges are welcome. He added that the million-dollar checks will go to people who will be spokesmen for that petition. The state attorney general has now filed a suit to block those payments. State Senator Brad Pfaff introducing legislation to improve housing access and affordability statewide. The bill would prevent hedge funds from buying single-family homes. Pfaff today arguing corporate buyers drive up housing costs, making it harder for working families to afford homes.
We do not need to have Wall Street capture all of housing that's available and just turn this into the working people into just constantly renting. We need to make sure that we fight and make sure that we keep housing affordable and available.
This bill would only apply to future home purchases and not affect properties that have already been sold. It is unclear if state Republicans will sign on.
We saw that record-breaking heat move across portions of the area this afternoon. Not everybody got as lucky to see the 80s as that warm front really stalled out just south of I-94. We can see that on our current temperatures right now. 84 in La Crosse, a drastic difference in Eau Claire of 30 degrees, 54 right now in Eau Claire. You can see that on our high temperatures today, that very obvious line where the warm front couldn't quite make it. Eau Claire right on that line, could have just made it a few more miles, just about 25 to 50 miles if that warm front would have made it, and then we could have seen some warmer temperatures up there. But overall, everybody's still above normal today. Those locations that saw the record highs, 30 to 40, close to 40 degrees above normal across the area, so a very warm day. Definitely saw some record breakers out there. The observed high of 84 in La Crosse beats the previous record of 80 set back in 1986. On radar right now, we don't see too much, but that's not going to be the case in the next few hours. We are tracking the chance for a low severe thunderstorm risk going into the evening. You can already see one small little thunderstorm popping off in central Minnesota right now. I'll have more details on what the rest of the evening is going to look like and what our wet, messy weekend is looking like coming up in my full forecast.
Sounds like a plan. Thanks, Nicole. A USDA pause on an emergency food assistance program has local food pantries concerned. Wafer in La Crosse says they're worried about proposed cuts to programs that they currently participate in. Some of the proposed cuts include government commodities, which includes receiving pasta, cereal, canned meats, and more.
For this to come now, it's just like I think about all the factors, right? Like we've seen decreased donations, both monetary and food. we're seeing an increase in need. People are needing more help. And then to possibly have these cuts coming is just, it's devastating to think about.
Senator Tammy Baldwin and more than 20 members of the U.S. Senate have co-signed a letter urging the Trump administration to reverse course. VARC is celebrating 50 years of serving people with disabilities. The nonprofit launched in 1975 with just 6 clients in a local church. It now serves nearly 1,000 individuals in 13 locations statewide, offering employment opportunities, day services, and community programs. The director of client services says it's a rewarding place to work.
Biggest hope for the next 50 years and beyond is to continue to serve more and serve better. We have really great programming across the state. We serve a lot of people, over 1,000 people annually, but I want to serve more.
Today's celebration included an employee pizza lunch and some special anniversary t-shirts. 8 swimmers from the La Crosse Area Family YMCA Wave Swim Team are set to compete in a national YMCA competition. The event will feature 11 races, including the 200 medley relay and 200 free relay. The head coach hopes his swim team can continue having fun while still making progress.
We've had a really great season. We've swam really well in our championship season in the state meets and stuff like that. So just hoping for more improvement and to have a lot of fun.
So the team will represent Wisconsin Monday in Greensboro, North Carolina. Fears growing over planned layoffs at the Department of Veterans Affairs. Coming up, we'll hear from those on the front lines about the potential impact. Mass layoffs are coming for the Department of Veterans Affairs. The VA secretary has said the department is looking at laying off about 80,000 employees to increase efficiency. Lee Waldman is in New York, who spoke to some VA employees who are worried these cuts will impact their ability to serve veterans.
The veterans just aren't going to get taken care of the way they should be.
Fears are mounting for Veterans Affairs employees and their union representation, American Federation of Government Employees, over sweeping layoffs planned for the department. Veteran Affairs Secretary Doug Collins says the VA is aiming to cut its staff by some 80,000, about 17% of its workforce.
Money and people are not the issue. So what we're looking at here is, are we spending, the money properly, and are we having the right amount of employees, or do we have just too much bureaucracy?
According to an internal memo obtained by CNN earlier this month, reduction in force and reorganization plans will be submitted by April 13th and revealed in June when cuts will begin. Jonathan Geller, the vice president of an AFGE branch in New York, worries about the impact on veterans they help.
This is going to affect all patient care as a whole. I mean, from the call centers, from eligibility to benefits, to the crisis line, to member services lines.
Erica Alexander is a crisis responder on the Veterans Crisis Hotline. She believes layoffs will leave veterans without critical safety nets and mental health support.
I think it's going to be hard to make sure that no calls go unanswered.
They gave so much for their country, but Geller worries the country won't be able to give back to them.
This was a promise. We promised these men and women to care for them.
In New York, I'm Lee Waldman.
Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has announced states can now stop people from using federal food assistance to buy soft drinks. He made the announcement during an appearance in West Virginia with the state's Republican governor, who recently signed legislation banning foods containing 7 artificial food dyes and 2 preservatives. West Virginia is the first state to do so. Kennedy has been outspoken about the health dangers of dyes and processed foods.
We have a public health crisis in this country, and unfortunately, West Virginia is leading the way. It's the highest obesity rate of any state in our country. This year, you pulled out of Mississippi.
Kennedy is leading a major overhaul of U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, calling the department inefficient. He announced he'll be laying off 10,000 workers and shutting down entire agencies. Still to come, concerns about unemployment are at a 15-year high. A new survey reveals what's driving the fear and how it could impact the economy.
And we have a little bit of a messy weekend coming up, so if you have any plans, you're definitely going to want to pay attention for the possibility of snow, rain, and ice. I'll have all the details coming up right after the break.
You're watching News 8 Now. Expect more.
Americans are more worried about rising unemployment than they've been in over 15 years. And that's according to a new University of Michigan survey. It found consumer sentiment tanked 12% this month. Respondents blamed President Trump's erratic trade war for their concerns. The survey's director said 2/3 of consumers expect unemployment to rise in the year ahead, the highest reading since 2009. Those worries come on top of increasing fears of higher inflation, with the president set to announce a sweeping spate of tariffs in just a few days. Some AT&T customers will be paying a little more for their service. The carrier announcing it will soon trim its monthly auto pay discount. Starting April 24th, the rebate will go down to $5, half of what it was before. The discount ends altogether for those enrolled with a credit card that isn't the AT&T Points Plus card. Now, there is an exception. The $10 rebate will remain for customers enrolled with a bank account. Analysts say this move is being made to try to encourage people to sign up with a bank account in order to avoid potential credit card processing fees. And the U.S. economy remained relatively solid in February. According to the Commerce Department, consumer spending rose by 0.4% that month. The data also shows the Personal Consumption Expenditures Price Index increased 2.5% last month from a year ago. However, some economists are warning things could change in the near future. They say the Trump administration's tariffs on auto imports and other levies could result in higher prices overall. Well, so many warm temperatures across the area. Eau Claire didn't quite get all of it, but still upper 50s to our north. But this weekend's kind of a different story. In Nicole.
Yeah, we have a little bit of a messy weekend coming up, and that mess is really going to be starting in the next hour or so. We saw on radar not a lot happening out there quite yet. There was that one small storm popping up over in central Minnesota. You can see on SkyTrack that line builds very quickly in the matter of an hour or two. So we are expecting some thunderstorms to pass through this evening. Not all of these could be thunderstorms. It could be some more scattered showers, but there is a chance for a thunderstorm or two to be embedded in that line. As we go later into the evening hours, though, it really weakens and starts to move out of the area, giving more scattered showers as we head into the late evening hours. You'll notice temperature in La Crosse at around 11 p.m. was around 66, and then when we're waking up in the morning, it's going to be at a cooler 44, and that's likely going to be about as warm as we'll get as temperatures continue to cool as we go throughout the day before some more showers move in later in the afternoon. Still looking at this risk for this evening, though. Some of our areas sitting in a marginal risk for severe weather. That's a level 1 out of 5. That main risk for that is going to be the possibility of some hail. It's a relatively small risk for large hail, but there is that little bit of a higher chance to see some smaller amounts of hail within any thunderstorms that pop up, and a small chance for some isolated gustier winds already on top of the breezy conditions that we've seen for some locations this evening. Moving to tomorrow, we'll see some light scattered showers to start off in the morning. As we can see, really not a lot of heavy rain rates within those showers until we move into the afternoon hours. That's when we can see some more widespread moderate rainfall moving across the area. You'll see, though, not everybody will be seeing rain for 100% of the time, so it won't be necessarily a washout, but there is going to be consistent rain chances throughout most of the weekend. As we go into Saturday night, that's when we can see a little bit of a wintry mix starting to go north of I-94. Potential for some icing in those locations as well. A little bit of a chance for some icing going more towards or between the interstate corridors and into central Wisconsin, but again, those higher chances staying north of I-94. Then going into Sunday afternoon, still seeing some lighter rain, not really as widespread as Saturday. Eventually going into Sunday evening, temperatures cool enough that any of that rain will likely be turning to snow, giving us a little quick band of snow showers moving throughout the area Monday night and into Sunday night into early Monday morning. So overall, here's all the precipitation types that we could be seeing, starting with that ice potential again, mainly more possible for areas north of I-94 where we're seeing those blue colors and into central Wisconsin. However, there's still a slight chance for some of us to pick up a light glaze of ice that could cause for some slick spots on your roadways. As far as rain goes, anywhere from 3/4 of an inch to possibly 1.5 inches possible throughout the entirety of the weekend. Lucky for us that heavy snow is really staying well northwest of the area, but as that line comes through Sunday evening, we could pick up about a trace, maybe some lucky areas getting 1 inch to maybe maybe 2 inches, but if we don't get too much snow going into Monday morning, we have some more on the way by Tuesday night and into Wednesday. That looks like it could be a little bit more promising as far as snow totals go, but we got to get through this wet weekend first. So a little bit of a wet, active forecast coming up.
Yeah, to say the least, I would say.
Yeah.
Thanks, Nicole. Coming up next in sports, a perfect day for a softball game. UWL making their home debut up against MSOE. Cade is next.
Covering all of the exciting action from your community, here's News 8 Now Sports with Cade Overton.
Yesterday, you saw the UWL baseball team make their home debut. Well, today, the softball team got the chance to play in front of the lacrosse crowd for the first time this season. The Eagles softball team 13-9 on the year, and they were looking to pick up a couple of wins today. Let's go there. UWL up against Milwaukee School of Engineering. Eagles in some trouble early. Bases loaded, just 1 out, but Bryn Beer would step up, gets 1 strikeout here. And how about a second one? Now MSOE would score 1, but the damage held to a minimum. Later, how about some defense? Ball hit to Kyra Lard, a great backhand over to first for the out. But the Eagles need to score some runs. In the 3rd inning, they would strike. Back-to-back base knocks would get some runners on. Then Amber Gonzalez, a hit to second base. The tag for 1 out, but Gonzalez safe at first, and a dropped ball means the run scores were tied at 1. Very next batter, Brooke Howard, and she smokes this ball out to center field off the fence. Gonzalez scores, and Howard is in with an RBI triple. Lacrosse takes the lead as they would go on to win 5-1. The UWL baseball team started up conference play with a pair of wins yesterday, and today, more of the same. Eagles taking on UW Stout, and in game 1, Eagles dominated 13-2 in 7 innings. And in game 2 of the day, UWL got the win 16-11. 7 total home runs for the Eagles, including 2 for Andrew Rakovich, which brought him to 5 home runs in the last 2 days. We've got a former Aquinas Blue Gold in the Sweet 16, Lexi Donarski and the UNC Tar Heels taking on Duke. Donarski with a good start in this one, cut into the hoop for an easy 2, and then later dribble into the paint, pull-up jumper, knocks it down. North Carolina with an 11-0 run to start the game, but Duke would come back to take the lead. Donarski gets the 3-ball to fall. Tar Heels within 3, but Duke would be in control from there as Donarski and North Carolina fall in the Sweet 16. I'm sure a lot of baseball fans were pumped for opening day, but if you're looking for more Brewer or Twin action, well, you're going to have to wait until tomorrow. Both teams got the day off, but they'll pick things back up on Saturday as the Brewers and Yankees face off at 12:05, and the Twins and Cardinals will start a little later at 1:15. Both teams still looking for their first win of the year. And a reminder that we will be airing the Brewers home opener right here on WKBT. That one's set for Monday at 1 p.m. against the Kansas City Royals. That's all for sports. We'll be right back.
We got one lone little thunderstorm starting to make its way into the area right now. A report of dime-sized hail in that, but it is building, and we can see that line starting to pop up a little bit. So just something to be aware of if you have any plans tonight, but those storms would be moving pretty quickly, so they won't ruin the fun for too long. Otherwise, a messy and wet weekend ahead of us with a little bit of a break on Monday, but then more snow coming Tuesday night and into Wednesday.
Yeah,
so
those percentages this weekend, those are pretty high.
Yeah,
you can't escape it.
Just 20% on every single day. We don't get a break. Yep.
No, we don't. All right, thanks for joining us, everybody. Enjoy some Sweet 16 coverage. Coming up after us, Ole Miss and Michigan State. We'll see you late tonight.